Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to our recap of American Idol Season 16, Episode 17. I'm your host, Adam Samuel, and today I'm joined by a special guest for this episode. It is Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
I'm great. How are you, Adam?
I'm doing good. A little rainy here, but I just want to say that my usual co-host, Eric, couldn't make it today, but he is here in spirit. He's at an event. He really wanted to be on this episode, but unfortunately, he just couldn't make it. But he will be back on Wednesday. He and I will be doing a special recap podcast of the top three. We're going to talk about Maddie's entire run, Gabby's entire run, and Caleb's entire run, which brings us to our first headline. We have our top three. It is Maddie, Caleb, and Gabby, and we have lost this week Michael and Cade. What do you make of these results, Ryan?
Going into the week, Michael was doomed for reasons way outside his control, as we've seen throughout this season. We know America tends to favor certain people, whether it's fair or not. It's not. Cade, on the other hand, goodbye. Like, it's time. He tried to make a comeback this week on his second song, but it was just too little too late, and it's more than past time for him to go.
Honestly, I feel the headline is that Cade was the one eliminated. I thought he fit the role. He's the white guy with guitar. He fit the Idol winner mold, but it turns out he's not the winner, and he's really the James Durbin of the season, which is I'm a little bit surprised, but I guess they are very similar kind of singers. I honestly prefer James, though, between the two of them. Sure. But job well done on getting this far, Cade. I mean, he gave us some pretty good performances. My favorite, honestly, was Feel It Still back in Hollywood Week. What was your favorite performance on his entire run?
I would say, I forget the exact name, but is it like All Around the Watchtower or something? The one he did.
Yeah, top 24.
That was killer. And at that point, I was so convinced that he was going to run away with it. He probably was going to. But the thing about it is, although like the white guy with guitar archetype wins Idol every single year, you still have to sing on pitch. Like, you still have to hit most of your notes unless you're Lita Wise.
At least. All right. But I wanted to ask, where, in your opinion, did he go wrong? Where did this story not go into the train station? Like, where did it go off the rails for him?
I think when he started to sing more in his low register, when he got softer, and it just was a total mess, like week after week. He even could have had like a growth arc in that aspect, which would have done wonders for his win equity. But when he started messing up consistently, I think it was just enough for America to jump off that bandwagon and towards another more Southern bandwagon.
I agree. I mean, there were quite a few stumbles, but I did think he did have some good performances. But one of the things that I keep hearing getting brought up is a lot of comparisons to season 10, that if our top three kind of matches our top three of season 10, and in fact, the top 5 as a whole. In this comparison, Scotty is Caleb. Gabby is Lauren, although I don't know I think she might be a bit ahead of Lauren, which is weird because that brings us to Maddie. Maddie is our Haley. Then we have James being Cade and Jacob Lusk being Michael, which I think is a bit of a ding against Michael. I think Michael's a bit better than Jacob Lusk, but I'm hearing these comparisons a lot. What do you think about them?
I think they're pretty apt for the most part. I would not compare Michael to Jacob.
Yeah.
But in terms of the top three, I think they're really apt, except for, I think the difference is if you look at season 10, Scotty was clearly the front runner. Like, of course he was going to win. It was obvious in every single way. Whereas this season, yes, Caleb's gotten through and he still like very likely could win, but this is not a runaway that season 10 was.
I feel like it's a runaway, but not for our Scotty of the season. I feel like there's a lot going for one contestant who we'll get into as we get into the performances. But I want to talk about the next headline of this episode, which was the most shocking for me. Katy Perry, before the performances start, she breaks the news that we've all been waiting for, that this week the judges are going to be much more critical of the contestants. And I got to say, they were way too harsh, in my opinion. They just totally shattered some of these contestants, right?
Oh yeah, I couldn't believe that Lionel only stood up 9 times. Like,
Only 9.
wow. Calm down, Lionel.
We talked about this with Eric a week or two ago, that I think he just stands up because that's just how he talks.
I
He just
agree.
always talks standing up. Like if he was sitting at a restaurant and I went up to him, he'd just stand up. Like that's just part of his persona. But next, we're going to move into the contestants and the performances. But this week featured the music of Carrie Underwood and songs in honor of Mother's Day, with Carrie Underwood being our host. And I wanted to ask, what did you think of Carrie's advice and critiques in the intro packages?
I feel biased because I do love Carrie a lot, and I think she's such like a good representation for Idol, and she's the most loyal person on the entire planet. Like, this woman never forgets where she comes from. She never forgets how she got her start, and she's always so thankful and always willing to give back to Idol. So I think it was really nice to actually get her to celebrate her songbook for once. And I think she gave some really good advice to some of the contestants. Obviously, like, the guest mentors aren't there to fix everyone's problems, but I feel like with someone like Cade in particular and Maddie, like, she gave some really good advice that I think they should take, and I think one of them did.
Now I want to ask, if you were on this season, what would be your Carrie Underwood song for this week? If you got to pick,
Oh my
what
gosh,
would your song be?
I'll
go first, just while I'll give you a second while you think. I would honestly go for you can't out Carrie, but I would probably lean towards something smaller because Carrie Underwood's voice is so freaking good. And if you try and measure up to her, you're going to be a little disappointed. And I would honestly go with something like, I would have picked So Small, honestly, or something like I Know You Won't. Or I Know You Won't actually would have probably been the one that I would go with. It was the one that Jeremy Rosado did season 11 in the top 24. I feel like I probably would have gone with that song. What about you?
I have like a few different ones in my head. I would say I just like tend to go towards my favorites. So there's a song called Mexico on her last album that I
love that song.
And then Blown Away too, just because I feel like that's such a dark mood and it's such like a good story, but I feel like it could also work in an Idol setting.
Every time I hear the song Blown Away, I think of X Factor, the little girl with the Ryan. Another Ryan, but spelled differently. All right, so we have Mother's Day and Carrie Underwood themed week. Which performance round did you kind of enjoy more between these two?
100% the Mother's Day round.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like Mother's Day was just an excuse to kind of be a free pick, honestly. It was kind of... all right, so let's move into the contestants. Let's start. So how we do these in past episodes is we talk about the entire contestants run in the episodes. We're going to talk about Michael. We're going to talk about both of his performances. And first off, he does Flat on the Floor, which brought me right back to Lauren Elena doing it in season 10. Another season 10 comparison. But what do you think of this performance?
Okay, so going into this performance, I truly thought it was going to be an utter disaster. And I was like, oh, Michael, like, no, baby, no. But when he started, like, it was fire. He really killed that. I mean, the thing about Michael is he's so, like, uniquely himself. And I feel like this performance especially was so fun. And it was so nice to see him take something so unexpected and make it work so well for him. And I feel like it was probably the most underrated performance of the night.
Speaking, you brought up the term unexpected, and I just want to go back to something that I read. I think it was on Idol forums. It's that Carrie Underwood week going into this week, it seemed like a week that was designated for the country artists. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, what this person actually pointed out, I don't remember who it was on Idol forums. They said that basically what Carrie Underwood week did for the country contestants is it actually going in, it seemed like it would do them a disservice because it would make them seem as copycat. But for the contestants that aren't country, it kind of gives them an avenue to be unpredictable and kind of give them a surprise. And that's really what Idol moments are kind of built on. Like Caleb doing a Carrie Underwood song, it's expected. Like in a regular week, it's what he would do. But for someone like Michael, who would probably never in this competition have picked a song like this, it was refreshing. And I really like this performance. Like you said, the thing is, I wanted him in the finale, but I knew that if it came down to it, he was only going to get into the finale probably over someone like Maddie. And as much as I like Michael, I would rather have Maddie in the finale because I think she has the best chance to win. I don't think Michael could win. Michael is still an incredibly talented person. He was on my draft. I don't know if you kept up with it, but Ryan, Eric, and I did a draft. On my team, it was Maddie. It was Maddie, Michael, and Gabby, and he has Cade and Caleb. But now I'm kind of winning. I think I'm going to win this draft this week. And it was a shame to lose him, honestly. Any final thoughts? Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say he was doomed going into this week, but like he gave it a big fight, and he should be really proud. He definitely deserved to make it, but you know, he did everything he could.
There's just idle history against him, and it's a shame. I think he would have been a fine winner, but I don't think he had any chance. But moving on to his second performance, it was his Mother's Day song. It's Still I Rise by Yolanda Adams. Mm-hmm. What'd you think?
When I saw this song choice, I was very excited because like this is like pure gospel, like idol moment with the choir. Like this was it, and this is exactly what I wanted from Michael. And honestly, I thought that was his moment. And I knew he was still going home, but like his mom crying and
everything,
it all worked so well. And I'm so glad that was like the last note that he got to end on.
They kind of, before his performance even starts, they have him doing these intro packages where they read a letter to their mom, and it's built for the tears. It's all about trying to bring the contestants out. And I felt like you said, he had everything going for him. It was emotional. It was a beautiful song. I left this performance liking it, but knowing this was probably the end of his run, because the thing is with Michael, a lot of his performances kind of are a little samey. Like he stands in front of the mic, he like has his arms down, he sings like very quietly, and then he raises his hands and he gets like the chorus, and it's the big moment. And it is kind of samey a little bit, but nothing against him. Incredible performance, honestly. Such a shame to lose him. I would have wanted him over 2 out of the people in the final
for
3,
sure.
Honestly. Any final thoughts on Michael and his run? Do you want to talk about like your favorite performance of his or anything? Any final thoughts?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think the thing with Michael is you hit it. You hit the nail on the head where technically, yeah, he is very much like center stage, mic stand, arms are raising, like it's going like that. But to me, Michael is such like a unique spirit and a unique artist in himself that someone like him, even someone like Maddie, where like if she's at the microphone stand, like they are different moods and they're just so emotional that I don't even care. So like honestly, I'm gonna miss Michael a lot, and especially I think this was my Still I Rise. I think was probably my favorite performance from him, but I think the first time that we like all really noticed Michael, with maybe this time, like that's gonna be remembered for idol history, and I think that. I really hope that he has some type of like nice future ahead of him because he really deserves it.
You said that so perfectly. I'm going to say, though, that my favorite performance was You Ought to Know during the showcase. I love that one. That was
I was in the audience for that one.
You were? What was it like?
It was really cool. So like at that time they filmed it in January and I had absolutely no idea who any of these people were. And Michael just like got on stage and it was so like unexpected again. Like I never expected that voice. He was so fun. He like lit up that crowd. And I was really excited after that.
I forgot that you've been to a lot of these performances live. Yeah. Some of the older one, more past in the season. But you went into this. You watched the showcase. You didn't know any spoilers? Did you recognize like Mara or Adam Sanders? Sanders looked different. I mean, you probably wouldn't have recognized him.
So I had like glanced at the names because like I followed the spoilers accounts, and so I had seen the tweets, but I didn't look into who these people were, what they did. The only thing I had saw some comment that Adam Sanders was a drag queen, and so I actually only saw half the top 50 for the showcase, and Adam was one of them. So he was pretty much the only one that I kind of knew anything about going in. But it was nice to get like that fresh perspective on the people I saw at least.
You got to see Creep live. What was the reaction?
That was the most like mind-blowing thing I think I've ever seen. That crowd went crazy for Creep. It was, I mean, like that run that he did on runs, like chills everywhere. That was Adam's moment of the season.
We should do a whole podcast just about that. That you got to go to these shows because I don't know, but
if you ever want to do a podcast on everything I think about Journey's first performance of Never Enough, I'm ready.
Maybe we should in the future, but let's move on a little bit. We move on to our next contestant. It's Gabby Barrett for her Carrie Underwood song. She's doing Last Name by Carrie Underwood. And going into this performance, I heard some news. She was not feeling too well. I was almost expecting an appearance of the doctor in black scrubs who's going to walk on and basically give her an excuse. But I have not been the biggest fan of Gabby's this season, but I was actually kind of digging this performance, which is a little weird. What did you think about it?
Huh. Okay. So my biggest problem with Gabby, and I feel like Harry Connick Jr. saying this, and I feel disgusting saying that, but she is from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She does not have a country accent. She should not have a country accent when she's singing Last Name. That's not how music works. And so, like, she sounded fine. She worked the stage. It worked fine, whatever. But, like, I don't need a dollar store version of someone doing a Carrie Underwood impression.
All right. I got a question for you. This was a question I made sure I wanted to put down for this podcast to ask you. You could answer however you want. Why should Gabby win? If she does win, why should she win?
You can make the argument that she's marketable. You know, she does fit like that mold. But honestly, I don't even think that's a strong enough argument for why she should win. I don't think she should. I think that it's hard enough in country music for women today. Country radio rejects woman after woman, no matter how talented and how fantastic they are. So to try and break a female country artist that isn't even authentic is an incredible uphill struggle. And I don't think she should be the winner.
There's a lot to be said about Gabby. I mean, I don't see how her train can be stopped. I'm seeing so much push for her on social media. She is the clear producer's favorite. The judges are standing for her mid-performance, which, you know, is kind of not that big of a deal because they do that for everyone. But it's just, I don't see how she can be stopped. I think it's almost like it seems set almost that she's going to win. And I'd be okay with it because she's on my draft, but I also kind of wouldn't because there's such a gem in another contestant who will probably be talking at length in a few minutes. But I just feel like if Gabby wins, it'll be solely on the points that the producers kind of favorited her a little bit. Right? Do you kind of feel that way?
For sure. What I will disagree with a little bit is I don't know that there's necessarily like an unstoppable Gabby train. I think it can definitely be stopped. And in my opinion, I definitely see all three of these contestants with a legitimate shot at winning. And you have to remember, like, Idol history does not favor girls winning anyway. So to say that it's a lock, I think you might be... I don't think it's a lock whatsoever for Gabby.
I'll just say this. I would much rather have Gabby win than Caleb. You wouldn't agree? All right. Well,
I don't think I can agree.
All right. We'll talk about that. But oh, God. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. We move on to her next performance. She's doing I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston. And I just want to say, before we did this podcast, about a few minutes before I let you onto the Google Hangout, I was looking on YouTube, and her performance is actually trending on YouTube, and it's got a whole lot of hits. I watched this. She hit all the notes. Pretty good performance. What did you think?
Okay. Well, to get back to the trending thing, we've also seen Mara Justine and Michelle Suzette trend on YouTube, so I don't think it's much of an indicator. But listen, okay. She hit most of the notes. I think the last 30 seconds got a little bit out of her control, but it was a good vocal. She did well. She had a good round. Her accent was suddenly gone.
That it comes and goes
there. And to pick I Have Nothing for the 100th time on American Idol.
10th time.
Is it like actually 10?
I think it's 10.
Wow. Okay. Like, please don't do that. Just don't. I mean, I guess I'd rather hear it than I don't want to miss a thing. But please don't do that if you're not Tessanne Shin. not to make a voice reference because I don't support that.
Or Jessica Sanchez.
True. Like, I don't know. I was super disappointed with the song choice. She sounded fine. She probably like earned her spot in the finale with that performance, but I just wasn't a fan.
Was it better than Jessica Sanchez's rendition?
Absolutely not.
You've heard a lot of them. Which was your favorite? I guess you kind of hinted it was Tessanne Chen's of the song.
I feel like Tessanne's the only one who's ever done anything with that song that like was meant to be.
Man, that season of The Voice, that was like the glory days. And since then, it's just all been downhill. I remember that season. I was so invested with like Holly Henry and Jackie and Kat was another one. There was, there was Josh. I think I could name the entire cast, right? I'm close. No, there was the guy who did Mr. Brightside and A Case of You. James. He was really good. That was a really good season. But anyway, in her performance, she does a shout out to the vocal coaches, Michael Orlin, Doran Holly, which is always really cool. I love the vocal coaches of the season. But I don't know. This felt like a little bit of, I almost felt like the confetti was going to fall, but it's just the song. It's like, it's a dun, dun, dun. Like there's nothing you can do to make your own impression on it. It's just a song that it's always going to be exactly the same as Whitney Houston. It's always going to be the same as everyone else who's done it. You're going to hit the same notes as them. There's little to show you in this performance. And I feel like, I mean, clearly it was a smart decision because it's trending on YouTube, but I feel like I wish I would have heard something maybe like a Mama Knows Best or something. That would have actually been like a good idea. Like a current, like she's painting herself as like either old fashioned and country. And like, those are two things that I'm just not the biggest fan of.
To me, I Have Nothing was an attempt to hit another like How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore home run.
Definitely.
But I feel like How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore was far superior, and I just don't think she lived up to that.
All right. Any final thoughts on Gabby before we move on?
I think she definitely could win. I don't think it's unstoppable. But I really hope she doesn't.
There's just such a gem in someone else, but we'll get to her in a minute. Next, we move on to Cade, who's doing Undo It for his Carrie Underwood song. And I've heard this song done a few seasons back by Caleb Johnson, and I'm not a fan of Caleb Johnson, but I think I actually liked his version of this song more than this one. Do you agree?
When you make me enjoy Caleb Johnson more than you've got a big issue.
It's true.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just thinking back to that season. I'm so mad that Gina lost. It was just, but like I said, like you said, it was just, even Caleb was a little bit better than this. But Cade's actually, when we did the draft, me and Eric, Cade was actually Eric's first pick of everyone. And he got the first pick. I got the first pick, and I picked Maddie, and he called me insane. But he picked Cade, and he was saying all season he's going to win. And I just wanted to say, ha. But I don't want to go there. But I just, rest in peace, Eric's first draft pick.
Can I say a few things about this performance? Because sure. I have like a few notes about it. So when he started singing the song, I got like, his voice was like this might sound insane. It was like a mix between like the unpleasant Philip Phillips tones that he had like during his mid-season. It was like a mix between that and like Bad Swamp Monster. Just not enjoyable whatsoever. And he like, I don't know what happened the last few weeks with him, but he just threw pitch out the window on those lower notes.
You bring up Philip Phillips, but in my opinion, Cade actually, his run kind of reminds me a little bit of Philip Phillips, where Philip had his run where he starts out really strong straight out of the gate into the live show. Then it kind of takes a dip. But what Philip did is he picked it right back up, like towards crunch time. This would have been the week when he did Volcano or We Got Tonight. And Cade just kind of sunk even deeper, and he never had that backup moment. And that's, I feel, where he went wrong. He could have been Philip Phillips, but he just picked the wrong songs, and it was okay. Cade is one of those contestants who in these middle rounds could get away with a bad performance or two and skate by just based on his white guy with guitar appeal, and because so many people just like him. And I feel like it ran out because at this point he was just constantly turning in these kind of subpar performances, and that's kind of enough to get him eliminated.
I totally agree. I feel like what you said about him being like this is what Philip would have been like if Philip had been eliminated at that like drop off position, like
It never would have happened.
Oh, I know. But like if Philip had gone home like around like his time of the season era on Idol, that's what Cade's journey essentially was.
It's exactly that. It's Philip's journey if he never had the volcano moment. If he would have went home time of the seasons, Holly might have been top 2. Just saying.
Oh my God.
We won't go there. Just for his performance, I just want to say I actually really like this. It started out kind of black and white, which was a little weird. I was thinking my TV was a little weird, but I liked it. It wasn't the best. I just really like this song. Honestly, it's one of my favorite Carrie Underwood songs. It's a rock song, and she kind of covers all her bases with her music. There's pop, there's country, there's rock, there's a little bit of gospel. It's it's a perfect theme for an American Idol week, in my opinion. But it wasn't enough. But moving on to his second performance, he's doing "Simple Man" by Leonard Skinner. This was covered quite a few times in the past. It was covered by Lee DeWise, Trent Horman, off the top of my head. I think there's one other person who I can't think of, but what did you think of the performance?
I think that this was Cade's attempt at coming back, and I think he gave it a really good shot. I actually think this was probably his best performance since at least top 14. But it was too little too late. When you have people like Maddie killing it consistently, you can't just come back with a pretty good performance and still get through to the finale. Well, some people can, but anyway, I think it was too little too late. And as much as I'm glad that he got to go out on a good note, I still think it was his time to go.
Even it's funny. I still was watching this. I was still kind of expecting him to be the one to advance.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking when they had the final 3, like they sent through, as soon as Caleb was sent through, I was like, well, there goes Maddie. And then it was the 3 of them. And I was like, all right, this is when Maddie goes home and it's Cade goes through. But such a sweet moment when Maddie was called. I should have filmed my reaction. I like threw a fist in the air. It was like an awesome moment. But for my opinion on this performance, it was good. Like I said, I expected it to be something to advance. I felt like he kind of had a pretty strong night. But like you said, it was probably just too little too late. I think at this point, it makes it more obvious because we're going to talk about this contestant next. I have a theory that when the results are read, Caleb has been called every single week first. I think just about every single week it's been first. And I think that might be a little bit reflective of the votes. And if that's the case, that means Cade probably hasn't been running away with this like we thought he was. And maybe he was more of a James Durbin or a Colton Dixon and not a Philip Phillips or a one of the other 10 white guys with guitars. But any final thoughts on his Idol run?
I think he's super talented. I think he seems like a nice guy, but he's just not a relevant enough artist, especially coupled with the fact that he had consistently bad vocals the last few weeks. It was definitely his time to go. I think last week should have been his time to go, especially over someone like Journey. Sorry. And Katie too, despite her mess up. But he gave it a good shot. And he'll be at least a crowd pleaser on tour.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Katie? I mean, her run ends last week, and I was just so defeated when she got sent home, even with the fumble. Like I said in our last podcast, I kind of still expected her to make it through, and I felt like the episode was it missed her a little bit, and I kind of missed her, and I just want to say that because I think she is really, really talented.
For sure. I think watching the Manic Monday disaster was honestly one of the most painful things I think I've ever witnessed. And it makes me mad that someone can have one bad performance for someone who's been not even consistent, but like consistently fantastic the last 3 weeks, and then still go home because of that. So to lose both her and Journey in the same night was like kind of, it deflated the balloon,
Totally. It's like someone like Daniel Seavey can kind of get away with those kind of fumbles, but just because Katie's a girl, she's kind of not in the cookie cutter lane. It's
like that moment Serena Joy Crow goes first, has one bad performance and gets kicked off. Like, why? Come on.
Well, the thing is, Idol is, we talked about this. Idol is kind of a show where it's over total body of work pales in comparison to what you've done most recently. Like, it's all about tonight's performance. You could have sucked every single week in the past, but if you have a good performance this week, you're probably going through. And if you're Pia Toscano, who isn't really that good of a metaphor because she did have a great performance all the way through. But it's like if Pia was amazing and then had one kind of where she fumbles the words a little bit and then she's just sent home because we're grading based on this week. And that's just how Idol is. And it's a bit of a shame, but would you have any ideas of how to fix that, of where the contestants are kind of based on just tonight and we kind of forget their total body of work?
It's hard because you can't, that would be like controlling how America votes and what they vote on. Like you can't, I mean, technically you could show like a recap of every performance they give before they vote, but like that's just not realistic. That wouldn't be fun. So as frustrating as it is, I don't know, you just have to try and avoid that as best you can, which is super tough, especially for women on Idol. Like it's super unfair because I feel like they're victims of that far more than any of the guys ever are. But, you know, that's why you have to have people like LaPortia or Candace Glover, who are the most insane people you've ever seen. And even they struggle to make it some weeks. But, like, you have to be at that level.
Totally. I think you cut out or you froze. I don't know if you can.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? You're kind of cutting out there.
Okay, I can hear you.
All right. Go on. I'm sorry. Continue your thought.
Where did I leave off?
You're talking about LaPortia and Candace and how they had a rough time making it to finale week, even though they were probably some of the most stellar performers on Idol.
Yeah, like you have to be at that level. And even then, it's not going to be easy if you're a woman on Idol. So it's unfortunate, but that's just the voting bias of America that we deal with.
Speaking of American Idol winners, we move on to our next short segment. It's Trent Harmon makes an appearance. He shows up for not even 4 minutes. He just kind of shows up. He says hi, and then I felt like we were kind of missing a performance of his. I felt like I was almost expecting him to like have a kind of song to do, and he just kind of showed up and was like, "Hi, peace," just straight out. It was a little weird. Do you kind of feel the same way?
I was surprised they had him tonight and not on the finale. But you know what? Like, why didn't they just have him sing his single after Maddie's performance and give more time for the voting? Or why didn't they have Carrie's performance after Maddie's performance? You know?
Right, and that's not how things work. Then we won't have time to do shtick. That's not how Idol works.
That was so.
We'll talk about that in a second because I have a lot to say about that. But we move on to the next contestant. It's Caleb. He's doing So Small. What'd you think?
Okay, I want to preface this by saying I think I've enjoyed Caleb a lot more than most people that I know have. I think he has had some good performances. I think he has a good voice. So Small was not it. This was not good enough. You cannot come into top 5 and give a passionless performance. Mess up some words, mess up your pitch, whatever. Don't come into top 5 and act like you don't care about what you're doing. And I know he probably does, and that might be unfair to say, but this performance was just so lifeless. And it, like, with a song like So Small, like that's begging to be a moment, and he really let it down.
I agree. There was a contestant who did it in the past. I didn't see this season, but I did watch his performance. I think it was Matt Gerard.
Matt Gerard, yeah.
Yeah, he did this performance. Also, even Gina Irene did it in season 13, and it was kind of better. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting from Caleb going into Carrie Underwood week. I mean, it's country, it's his lane, but I don't know what song, if this was The Voice and he's on your team and you're the coach, what would your approach to Carrie Underwood week be for Caleb?
I don't necessarily have a specific song in mind right now, but I think with Caleb, you go with one of Carrie's more like hardcore country songs. You know, like you need ones with like the banjos, the yeehaws, you know, like one of Carrie's like real country songs. This one's more of like a pop country ballad that would fit someone like a Journey, you know?
I was expecting Jesus Take the Wheel, honestly.
Even that would have worked.
Going into the performance. He seems like such a cool guy. Like the people really seem to like him. But I'm also seeing a lot of people comparing him to Scotty, which is he Scotty? I want to ask, is he?
So the thing is, I actually think I prefer his voice to Scotty's, just in terms of listening to it. But Scotty was much more consistent on the show. Scotty was much more committed. Scotty was much more, well, I won't say interesting, but you know, he was more present. Whereas Caleb, I think he has some good performances, but he has a lot where he's just kind of like strumming, like nodding his head, and there's just nothing there.
I kind of agree with you. Which is getting to the feeling where I feel like he might possibly be our winner. He has a very good shot, in my opinion. How would you feel about Caleb Wynn?
Okay, I'm very conflicted. On one hand, I don't think he's performed up to snuff for an Idol winner. But at the other hand, he really has had some good performances, and he's very talented. He seems like a really nice guy. So I think he could be a good representation of Idol, and I think that at least if he like goes out in interviews, he can like, you know, charm the radio DJs. He might be able to have a successful single or two. Like in that respect, I guess I'd be okay with it.
You started with "I'm conflicted," and I was almost thinking of you were going to pull out a top hat and call yourself Judas. But anyway, no, it was a good season. Anyway, yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head. He just seems like a genuine person. I think he has an audience for him. I mean, the thing is, his Idol run has kind of always been at like about a 5. Like it's never, well, there was like 1 or 2 moments I would say where it kind of went up to an 8, but for the most part, his overall body of work has kind of been middle of the road, which it might be the new standard for the Idol winners where you don't take the risks. You kind of play it safe. Like people say with Scotty, he kind of always stayed in his lane, and Caleb is kind of always staying in his lane unless when the themes kind of push him out of it. I don't know how I would feel with him as a winner because we'll talk about this person next. There's just someone who I feel like is such a more perfect Idol winner. And I feel like if Caleb wins, it's like if it's Christmas morning and there are 3 presents and there's like a really cool present, an okay present, and a fine present. Like it would be Caleb would be the fine present. When it's good, it's serviceable, but there's such better potential here is what I'm saying.
I still would honestly prefer him to win over Gabby. I think I do honestly. I trust his post-show ability in country music more than I trust Gabby's. And if I'm looking for Idol to have a successful winner, I'm probably looking at Caleb first over Gabby.
I will say, if Caleb wins this season, I will give up hope that we are ever going to get a female winner.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen if Caleb wins. But moving on to his next performance, it's Stars in Alabama by Jamie Johnson. And like all the other contestants, he had a package with his mother. There are tears, and I was thinking, okay, he's going to be in the finale after this, right?
I mean, that's my first instinct, but that was kind of my first instinct for everyone. I was like, oh, wow, Michael's mom is crying. Maybe he'll make it. So, like, I feel like because they kind of, they distributed that pretty equally. I don't think that was too much producer manipulation in that respect.
I felt like watching the performances that I felt that everyone was kind of delivering really well. And then rewatching the performances, it was kind of not as good as I kind of thought it was, which is just kind of weird. But I thought this was a really good performance. And then kind of stepping back and watching it a day later, I thought it wasn't as good as I thought it was. But it's funny. I don't actually have that many more things to say about Caleb. I mean, I like him, but it's just his run has been a little bit predictable, in my opinion.
Would you say that the Stars in Alabama was like on the same playing field as So Small?
A little better, maybe. I mean, the thing that Cade, one of the points I made with Katie's set list was that both for songs, there wasn't a moment song in them. There wasn't a song like this. And I feel like Caleb kind of did the exact opposite, where Katie did kind of the fun up tempos. Caleb kind of did both more emotional ballads. And I feel like somewhere in the middle is where the contestants kind of should be. I feel like when you get to this strategy, when you get to pick 2 songs per week, should be you do one opener that hopefully is performed early in the show because the second one is going to be the one that shines, which is actually not really the case anymore because of the whole reverse like pimp spot. But I felt like, going back to your question, yeah, it was basically in the exact same vein of So Small. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. Do you agree?
I would actually disagree on that.
Okay.
I think that Stars in Alabama was a really good performance. And that is probably controversial opinion considering like the state of the Idol fandom right now. But I honestly like this is where Caleb shines. When he finally like actually pours his heart and his soul into the performance. Like you could, I feel like visibly see him emotional during this performance, and that's the kind of material that he needs to sing in order to take the crown. I mean, honestly, maybe to do that, but you know, like that's the kind of stuff he needs to sing for me to accept it.
I didn't expect you to be such a Caleb fan.
I'm not necessarily a Caleb fan, but I can be.
All right. We touched on this a little earlier. I don't know if it's worth bringing up, but I'm going to do it anyway. Conspiracy time. We're going to put on our tinfoil hats. He's been called first every single week. Is there maybe something to that? Are they kind of doing some hinting that he might be not in danger at all? What do you kind of think about the results read?
It's so tough because I always want to read into that, and I want like anything I can get to tell like who's placing where in the vote. But I think it might be reading into it too much. Like if you are watching Idol result shows in the past and you're seeing like who's called first and who's sent to the bottom three first, you know, like I feel like in reality, at least 50% of the time, it doesn't actually correlate to anything. So I think honestly, there's a good chance that maybe this week or maybe in past weeks, he's ranking lower than we expect, but they're just trying to make America complacent and think that he's placing higher. There's like that angle you can take. So I think you can try and read into it, but I don't think it necessarily correlates.
I think I'm more in your camp. I like to believe. I love these conspiracy theories, but any final thoughts on his run? We kind of talked a bit about him, but any final thoughts?
I hope if he's gonna win by default, like if he really is the Scotty, if he's gonna win no matter what, I just want him to at least give his best and earn it more than like I need more stars in Alabama. I never need to see us so small again. You know, like that's what I need.
What would you pick for his repeat song?
Oh wow.
I'll go first while you think.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess When Doves Cry, honestly. I feel like that was his, in my opinion, one of his best performances.
Yeah.
Maybe if he wants to go all the way into the Scotty comparisons, he could do the Baby Lock Them Doors song, but probably not a good idea. I would go with When Doves Cry, the Prince song.
I think that was his best artistic moment for sure. So that's probably what he should pick. Actually, the one that I liked most that everyone else hated,
You've Got a Friend,
Toy Story song. So like I don't think he should do that, but like selfishly I enjoyed it.
All right, we'll move on. But before we get to Maddie, I just want to touch on, because if we went to Maddie and then we would go to this performance, we kind of get lost in the shuffle. We have a bit of a break where Carrie Underwood comes out and performs her song "Cry Pretty," and there's been so much talk about her and her having this fall and her having her face. They kind of were like hinting that her face was like deformed. She looks absolutely fine. I mean, what do you think of this performance?
I thought the performance was phenomenal. I mean, Carrie, like somehow she gets better and better and better, despite the fact that she's already freaking amazing. I think the song is probably her most like emotionally invested single that she's ever had. And I think she, like, I hate to be one of those people that's like, well, she put all the contestants to shame, but like, I mean, come on, it's Carrie Underwood.
That's not fair, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyone's gonna be put to shame next to Carrie Underwood. She's just such a gem. Like she's such a perfect person, like to come from the show, and she's still so invested. I feel like she is someone who probably watches every week. Maybe, I don't know, but you can't really say that for most people who come after the show. But anyway, I just want to say great performance. I feel like maybe they always style her hair to like cover the part that was like with the stitches, but if you hadn't told me, I never would have suspected a thing with her. Honestly, it's the wonders of makeup or plastic surgery, one or the other. Anyway, we move on to the last contestant of the night. It's someone we're probably going to have a lot to talk about. It's Maddie Poppe. We're going to start with her Carrie Underwood song. It's I Told You So. And I just want to preface this by going back to our season 10 comparison, where if we have Scotty being Caleb and Gabby being Lauren, that would by default make Maddie Haley. And I want to ask, will Maddie follow that same will it come to the same stop as it came for Haley?
So I think it's very possible, especially because she's neither country nor is she from the South. But I think the major difference with Haley is that Haley started out as like the ultimate underdog. She was literally placing 11th or 12th out of 13 in both. Maddie, on the other hand, did not have to start out like that. So she doesn't have that hurdle to overcome, at least. And there was someone who made a comparison on MJ's big blog. And I wish I had like written down who it was. But they kind of compared Maddie's journey to Kelly Clarkson, just in terms of starting out very quiet, not necessarily like an underdog, but just like under the radar, and then like building week on week and really coming into like that fan favorite mold. And I think if we're looking for like that first chapter of this new Idol era, I really hope it's Maddie.
You kind of hit the nail right on the head, where she did follow the Kelly Clarkson run. When we were doing the draft with me and Eric, I actually picked Maddie to be my first pick. I was the first one who got to pick from everyone, and I picked Maddie. And Eric thought I was absolutely insane, but I felt like there was just something so special about this girl. Like when she starts singing, like she was kind of like hidden. Idol does this in the early rounds where they'll highlight a bunch of contestants, and then there'll be one or two, like Joshua Ledette, they'll just bring out and they'll pop them out all of a sudden, and they're incredible, and no one expects them to. So when she comes out in like top 24 week and she just has a really good moment, it's so much more powerful because it was so unexpected for her, and I really want her to win.
I was personally really lucky because I got to see a lot of Maddie's journey live. I saw me and Bobby McGee for top 50. I saw brand new. I
didn't see that.
I know. Actually, to be completely 100% blunt, probably her worst performance.
Really?
Yeah, not bad whatsoever, but just I didn't get as much of that spark as I did on every single other performance. But then she comes out with Brand New Key. It was like, whoa, who's this girl? The duet with Colby Calais, whoa. Homeward Bound, like chills everywhere seeing that. It was, and I think for her to pop out these moments consistently, like she's not only like done really well, but she's played the Idol game really well.
That's another point you make. I feel like she is one of the few contestants that I felt had a strategy to the season.
Yeah.
Like when she was planning her run, I felt like there was some thought of, all right, I'm going to do this week, that week. This is going to be smart. And I just feel like her Idol run is exactly what, if I could sing, it's kind of the mold that I would follow. Mm-hmm. She's just, her song choices have been brilliant, that they're always songs that almost every week, I think except for like 2 exceptions, of songs that have not been covered on Idol. She's just, in my opinion, she's a smart contestant. And going into the top 24 week, I was asking myself the question, who is our Jax? Who is our Gina Irene? And I thought at first it was Gabby, but it turns out that person is actually Maddie. Yeah. And the thing is, can Maddie win? Like Jax couldn't do it. Gina Irene couldn't do it. Can Maddie do it?
Conventional wisdom honestly says no. But I don't think that's necessarily true for this season. I think there's such a groundswell of support behind Maddie right now. Like if you look, and I know you shouldn't go by Twitter, and I'm probably getting my hopes up, but like, you know, like this girl has so many people behind her, and she has so many like contestants behind her. And I just feel like there's something, I want to believe there's something different about this new Idol chapter. So I want to say she can win.
I want to say that as much as I love Katie and Journey, I feel like their eliminations were incredibly good for Maddie because they've endorsed her. I felt like there is so much more potential now for Maddie because she has gotten the backing of them. I felt like, honestly, going into next week, she might have Michael's votes. She might have Cade's vote, which is, Cade is a little bit more up for grabs. So I feel like she has now got the backing of Journey, Katie, and probably Michael, which is, and also like a bunch of other contestants have like come out and said that they're supporting her. But I felt like the Idol machine is kind of demanding a Gabby win. And I feel like the Idol fan base is kind of pushing against that. They want the Maddie win. And if Maddie wins, like it would be the first time I've ever picked someone from like the top 24 to win. Never happened in the past. As close as I came was Gina Irene, and I still think she was robbed. But we've kind of gotten a little bit off track. I want to talk about her I Told You So, unless you have any final thoughts on what I was just saying.
This is like, okay, I just want to say really quickly, I also want her to win because I genuinely believe she seems like the nicest person and would be a very good representation for Idol. Like I had the chance to meet her parents during the Top 24 tapings. I got to stand right by them. The sweetest family in the entire world. And like, that is the person that I want to be the American Idol.
And then we can make her all jaded and horrible when she becomes a top selling artist, because that's how it goes. But anyway, going back to her I Told You So performance, love it. Beautiful, very lilty. Not the kind of song I would have picked for her, honestly. I felt like I would have gone with I Know You Won't on it, or I don't know if I would go for the big. I don't know if her voice can handle the Something in the Water, the Blown Away. I would have honestly. It's a good safe song choice is what I'm trying to get at. I think there probably is a better song for her, but it was still pretty good. Do you agree?
I totally agree. And I feel like the strength of Maddie is she just had to pick a song with a lot of story to it. And I feel like I Told You So is a good Carrie song well, technically it's a Carrie cover, but it's like a good Carrie choice for that. Sure, maybe there could have been some better options, but I still feel like she really like hit this one out of the park, so I can't even complain.
The thing is, when I saw that she was performing last, because they were doing the order and I have no idea what the performance order is. And it starts out, it's Michael, then it's Gabby. And then I'm like, all right, let's get Maddie out really quickly because she needs time to get the votes. And as soon as I heard that she went last, my heart kind of sank because, oh God, that means she's going to perform last. And then I saw after Maddie was Gabby, I think, came after. Like they switched up the order, and I was like, okay, this is a good sign. That means Maddie's going to be she's going to be a little bit earlier, and then again she's going last, which in my opinion, I feel like the producers are trying to bust her. Do you agree?
Okay, so like while I was watching the episode, I totally agreed, and I actually, as soon as Katie mentioned that thing about we're gonna give a more realistic critique, we're gonna give a more honest world critique, I was petrified. I was like, this is it for Maddie.
The bus has come.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be it. But then, to be fair, they didn't, and they treated her very fairly. So I don't think they actually did bust her.
My mind went to the exact same place. When I heard that Katie's like, we're going to be a lot harsher, I was like, okay, this means that someone is leading in the votes who is probably beating Gabby, and we want to shut that down. And thank God it didn't work, because when it came time for her second performance, which I guess we're going to transition into her doing God Only Knows. Before she performs, they start doing judges shtick, which is why not? They do a shtick with I think it was Luke Bryan's mother kind of shows up, just pops out of nowhere, and I was just looking at the clock. My mind was like looking at the TV, but my eyes were on the clock, and I was like, dang. You need to get Maddie out. You need to get Maddie out, because this is like the Dennis Lorenzo curse, where if you just perform last, you're not going to have enough time to get the votes. And I feel like, honestly, in my opinion, she probably came in third place in these votes just because how little we saw of her. Her Carrie Underwood song was good, but it was probably a little bit lost in the shuffle because right after her came Gabby doing her huge Whitney Houston ballad. And I was thinking, come on, you got to get her out. And they kept pushing it off, and I was just freaking out a little bit. But what do you have any thoughts on that?
I was so scared during that. I was on Twitter at the same time too, and everyone was like, let Maddie sing. Like, come on, let's go. And I was very nervous, especially because everyone had a good round for that second round. So I was like, oh man, like this could go badly. But then the thing about Maddie is she connects with her audience so quickly. And I feel like I Told You So really connected with people very quickly. So I wasn't as worried about that getting lost in the shuffle, but I was still scared for her to go last in that moment. But I think her performance easily overcame that.
The thing is, I feel like if Maddie wants to win, she needs to be absolutely stellar in the finale. And I feel like these performances were pretty good. They were above average. They weren't stellar. They weren't the song, the Sinead O'Connor song that she did. They were good, but I felt like at this point, when they brought her out with Michael and Cade, I was like, this is not going to end well. But thank God it did. She's getting so much push though. Like on social media, I feel like she is the clear favorite. She's got the backings of the the previously eliminated contestants, I feel like she would just make such a good winner. Her God Only Knows performance, good, solid. I would give it a 8.5 out of 10. But if she wants to win, she needs a 12, honestly. Do you agree?
I do agree that she needs to have a showstopper. She needs to pull Nothing Compares to You in the finale. But I am gonna disagree on is God Only Knows. I think that was like at least that was a killer performance. I think especially when you have a classic Idol moment like her getting to the end and choking up on that last note and like wiping away that tear. Oh my gosh, that was such a good moment, and that was what secured her spot in the finale. And honestly, I feel like that was a big moment for her.
It wasn't my favorite. It was definitely like I said, it was definitely a good performance. She reminds me a little bit of Gina Irene, where they kind of have this really smart idol run. I was a little bit expecting her to do this by piano, and I kind of didn't understand why she didn't, because she showcased like when Gina Irene performed by the piano, you knew she meant business. I don't think she had one bad performance that wasn't by the piano. And I feel like it would have added a bit more dimension of her just behind the piano. It's just something I would have nitpicked of mine. I still think pretty good performance. Thank God it made her, she advanced through it. I feel like if she performed earlier, like in my opinion, of the votes, she probably came in third place just because she didn't have enough time, and she probably barely just beat Cade just because the audience barely was able to see her. But I felt like if she swapped places with Gabby and performed like first of the second round, she probably would have maybe topped it.
I think that I don't know that we can necessarily say that she came in last out of the votes for sure. I think it's possible, but I also think that she has more support than we're even expecting. And also, in my opinion, God Only Knows was far and away the performance of the night.
I think it was in the top two. You know what? Maybe it might actually, in my opinion, just because I'm entirely biased because I want Maddie to win. I've thrown that out multiple times, but I want her to win. And I felt like for the first time in her Idol run, I felt really nervous for her. And I don't like that. I don't like those feelings. Those are not fun feelings. But I wanted to ask, so that is Maddie's run this week. But next week we have our finale. We have a performance on, I think it's Sunday and Monday. But I wanted to ask, are we eliminating one contestant at the end of Sunday's night? Or are we doing kind of like how The Voice does, where the top three are all together and they kind of do the reveal that way? How do you think things are going to run?
As far as I've come to understand, I haven't seen anything about next week being like a live coast to coast thing on Sunday. And they've also said in like press releases, like for the first time, it's the final three, like it's the final three finale. And they've been pushing like this idea of final three a lot. So I think that it's going to be all three making it to the Monday finale. And it'll be like an overnight vote again.
I think that Maddie is someone who would by far benefit from that happening. I feel like she would need a bit more time, because if the producers decide during finale night that they're going to eliminate someone that exact performance, they could easily stick her in that slot at the end, and it would maybe be the end of her. But I don't know. There's just so much up in the air. But actually, those are all the performances of the night. So I have some post episode discussion topics that I want to bring over. So first off, go on. Sorry.
Oh, just real quickly, can I just say one quick thing about Maddie before we move on to this?
You've probably prepared this, so go ahead.
I have. Okay.
Go on.
America, I'm talking to you right now. Please listen. For all the Katie fans, all the Journey fans, all the Michael fans, all the Ada fans, we have to come together and make this girl win. If you're tired of seeing Brooke White, Haley Reinhart, Elise Stone, Holly Kavanaugh, Gina Irene, Allison get screwed over year after year, we have to make this girl win. This is our one chance. Please, can we please just come together and make Maddie Poppe win? It is the only way that we can stop these country singers from doing it again. And we finally have our chance to get our justice. So can we please make Maddie win?
Co-signed. What he said. What he said. I'm gonna put Jax on that list also of the contestants. Sure. I don't know if you were a fan of Jax in that season.
I was, yeah.
I went to her homecoming. That was the only homecoming I've ever went. It was a blast. I think I yelled at her oh my God, Jax. Yeah, I agree. Please. I'm gonna do my own little pitch. she deserves to win. I mean, she's just had such an incredible Idol run. I feel like of the performances of the season, she's easily had the top 2 performances. I feel like overall body of work, she is someone who's so versatile. She's not the conventional country singer. I didn't prepare a whole rant, so I'm just going to keep it a little short. But and also the biggest point for why you should vote for her is if you do, I will officially beat Eric in the draft with my number 1 pick, which would be huge. And I just really would like it to happen. Anyway, that's it. Vote however you want, but vote for Maddie. All right. So I have some last questions. So I want to ask, who will win and who should win?
Okay. So I'm gonna give like my ideal order is definitely Maddie, and Journey and Katie. Anyway, no, Maddie, Caleb, then Gabby is my ideal order. My pessimistic order that I want us to overcome is what I'm probably predicting is Caleb, Gabby, Maddie. But I do think all 3 genuinely have a chance to win.
Who do you think is destined for 3rd place, honestly?
I don't think any of them are destined for 3rd. I think a lot of this is up in the air more than we normally get to see on Idol.
I agree. I do think, though, based on overall body of work, how would you rank this top 3? Do you think this is a strong top 3? Like compared to past seasons, like in my opinion, the best top 3 of all that I've seen is probably a tie between season 11 of Philip, Jessica, and Josh. And in my opinion, also probably season 13 with Gina, Alex, and Caleb. Where do you think this top 3 kind of ranks?
It's not an overall strong top 3. It's definitely not the worst. Probably just because of Maddie, but I don't think this is a necessarily overall strong showing for Idol's first season on ABC.
All right, who was the most robbed of our 2 who were sent home? Who was robbed? Yeah.
Well, just based on this week, Michael, but there's someone else overall that I would say.
I was so worried that we would be doomed to our final 3, the obvious of Cade, Caleb, and Gabby. And thank God Maddie managed to get in there, because that would have been a doom and gloom. This would have been a very subdued, not a very happy kind of podcast. And just even if Maddie doesn't win, which I don't want to put that out into the world, but she's given us so much this season. She's given such strong performances, and I applaud her for that. I would like to extend, if she ever wants to join us on a podcast, she's always more than welcome. She's up there with my favorite list of the overall body of contestants that I've rooted for. Some last minute thoughts. Who are the top 3 performances of the night, in your opinion?
I would say Maddie's God Only Knows, Michael's Still I Rise, and honestly, Maddie's I Told You So.
I'm just looking through the performances. I'm just going to say Maddie doing not I Told You So. God Only Knows, because I did still really like it. I'm going to do, like you said, Michael's Still I Rise. For the last one, I don't really know. I'm just going to leave it at a top 2. Okay. So this is the first time we've had you on the podcast. So I wanted to ask, what do you think about this season as a whole, based on the season? If you just want to kind of gloss over, are there any kind of points you want to bring up? Any things that kind of stood out to you?
Overall, I've really, really enjoyed this season. I was unsure going in because, it's a new network, it's a new era of Idol. I honestly kind of expected the ratings to just completely bomb and the show to be one and done. But, I think this has been a strong season for Idol to come back on. And it kills me to see the voters kick very talented people out for milquetoast, boring singers at the end, other than Maddie. But you know what? I think overall, I've seriously enjoyed it. And I'm really looking forward to the tour.
Are you going?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I got my tickets also. I'm so hyped. I can't wait to meet Katie. I'm a little bit shocked that they didn't let the top 10 go on tour. Maybe budget reasons. I mean, Michelle would have been probably a big draw. Adam Sanders would have been a huge draw. Even Dennis probably would have been. I don't understand why they cut it off the top 7. Probably money. right?
Well, I was actually shocked that they let the top 7 go. I thought it was going to be top 5 for sure. Thank you, Lord, that they let the top 7 go, because I would not be half as excited without Journey and Katie.
Totally agree. Cosign. All right. So next week, it's finale week, finale performances. Let's say this is The Voice and the 3 contestants are on your team. What are your ideas for how to approach this week? And here's the real question. What would your repeat song ideas be for the contestants? I'll give you a second to think on that. I'll go first. Maddie, Nothing Compares to You by far. If not that, I would probably, it might not be a good idea, but I would honestly maybe consider Brand New Key, just because I love that performance so much. I feel like that's also a huge draw for her fan base. I mean, I don't know. One of those two, probably Nothing Compares to You. Caleb, When Doves Cry. It's got to be that one. Gabby, I'll give it up to you, and then I'll come back with Gabby's.
Okay. So for Maddie, I'd actually definitely say, what's it called? Homeward Bound. I think choice. That was a very subtle but a very effective performance. And in a season this short, it's hard to do a repeat song because you really did just see all of them like a month ago. But I think Homeward Bound was at least a little further back, and it was such a good moment. I think she could really bring that back out again. Caleb, it does have to be When Doves Cry. Like, that was his like artistic moment. And Gabby, I would say if she's allowed to repeat Stay with Sugarland, that was her best moment.
When she did the duet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to allow that, but yeah, that actually is a pretty good idea, honestly. I feel like the thing is we really need to talk a little bit more about Maddie and Gabby. I feel like they're kind of polar opposites. Like, Maddie is completely true to herself. Like, she does exactly like she feels the song lyrics. Like, when she sings Homeward Bound, like, she just her face reflects the words. Gabby kind of picks the songs and she does a little bit of her own stuff, but Gabby is like a huge singer and Maddie is kind of like a more quiet and subtler singer. And I feel like to the fan base, like, of people who will watch and kind of analyze the performances, they might lean more towards Maddie. But if I'm a casual viewer and I'm seeing this little girl belt out Whitney Houston, I feel like that's kind of where the votes might go. I just feel like comparing the two, what do you think about them? Like, if they're the final two, how do you see? I don't know if I kind of explained that really well, but it's just, I'm just going to throw it over to you. What do you think about what I said?
I don't think that Gabby does not come off as likable to me. She comes off as very much like trying to be a country music singer rather than just being a country music singer. Maddie comes off as very authentic, very approachable, very sweet, and, you know, just really like nice to listen to. And so I think that a casual viewer, if you're sitting in like your living room in the middle of nowhere in America, like, I think if you see Maddie, like, you don't see someone that you're threatened by, and you might see like, oh, what a sweet girl, like, let me give my votes to her. You're probably instead getting like, oh wow, look at this nice little country boy, I'd rather give my votes to him. But between Maddie and Gabby, I think Maddie has an edge in that way.
Maddie's voice, it reminds me of something like, if I was to go, I think I've only gone once in my life camping, and we're around the campfire. Like, I just imagine Maddie just with her guitar, like, playing Homeward Bound. Like, that appeals to me. That is what works with me. Like, when you think of Gabby, you probably see her on a stage. Like, Maddie is more of an intimate kind of like subtler, like a quieter, like, she kind of brings you in, and Gabby is like, look at what I could do with my vocals. And it's just going to come down to taste. And I hope people go with it.
I also think that Maddie has more control than Gabby does. Gabby maybe hits like the bigger notes. Maybe she like scrunches her face and really belts it out more. But like Maddie, I think everything is so pristine in every single run, every single transition. That falsetto is flawless. And I just think that's one big edge that she has over Gabby as well.
All right, so that is our episode. Do you have any final thoughts on anything you want to bring up before we move on to next week's episode?
I think that Journey and Katie were robbed, and I think that Maddie should lose.
Yeah, co-signed. All right, guys. So I just want to say that next, it's actually going to be this Wednesday. Eric and I are going to be going over the top 3 contestants. We're going to go through their runs from audition all the way to finale week, what we think they need to do to win. So that's something you can look forward to. My name is Adam Samuel. You could find me on Twitter at Adam Soapbox. You could follow my blog, Adam's TV blog, or my personal blog, adamsoapbox.blog. And where can we find you, Ryan?
You can find me on everything at Ryan Temple TBH, RyanTemple TBH.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on Wednesday if you're going to come. Hopefully you will. Thanks so much, guys. Peace.